Good morning, everyone. This is Kelley Hobart from Alpaca Direct, and I'm here on Technique Tuesday, and I have this lovely little Valentine shawl, and I am doing mine with worsted weight instead of fingering weight just to make it a little quicker, so I have a few less repeats, because I think the pattern calls for 22 repeats of this heart stitch, and this is a black and white color, so it doesn't really do justice of the actual pattern, and it is called Knit Love. Knit Your Love by Martina Bem, and it is a fantastic pattern. It's a super easy pattern that you can repeat over and over. It's like 14 rows or something, and I'll show you where I am on mine. I'm using a bit of Rios that I had in my stash, and you can see some of my hearts are blocked. One second. Some of the hearts are not rolled out yet because they're not blocked. But some of them, a few of them are, because I pre-blocked it earlier, and then I went ahead and knit more last night when I was watching TV. So some of them weren't. You can see it, sometimes it wants to roll a little bit, but it's a really cute little shawl. It's not super wide. She said when she does hers in fingering, the finished dimensions of this are, let's see if I can find it on here. Oh, 66 inches by 12 inches. So it's a tiny little shawl, but it's just enough to keep you warm, and it's super soft around your neck because mine is made out of Rios, which is superwash merino, and that is by Malabrigo, and it's a hand-dyed yarn.
Yeah,
and so
they can see.
Yeah, see, Rios is really nice, and I don't remember what this colorway was. I just had most of this skein in stash. I have this much left, so I'm going to keep going, and let's see how many repeats I've done. So I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'm starting my 10th. So when you're knitting projects and it has like a 14-row repeat, for instance, what I like to do with mine is I don't always mark the actual pattern. What I do is I do a complete repeat and stop at the very end. So I know that every time I do a repeat, I'm going to be starting at row number 1. For instance. So I don't know if you guys have any tricks out there for how you keep track of your repeats on your little lace shawls or hearts in this case. If you do, post them in the comment section and let us know what you do to keep track of your patterns and memorize it and be able to get back to work on it. So every week we do a drawing. This is Simplicity Spray by Haiku, and this was the prize for last week, and this one's called Girly, and this one is called Pebble. And so those are 2 skeins, and it is a superwash merino blend, and it's I made my baby surprise jacket out of it that I showed last week. And so I wanted to get it in your hands. So all you do to enter to win a prize is you post comments in the comment section. Maybe you tell us where you're from, what you're knitting. If you have a pattern that you're enjoying, please post the name of the pattern so we can enjoy it along with you. And sometimes I get ideas from you for future Technique Tuesday, so it's totally fantastic.
So we have lots of people coming on from Maine, Massachusetts.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Wisconsin.
Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to have you here with
Colorado,
me.
Alaska.
Yes, it's fantastic. And so I'm enjoying knitting right now because it's actually getting cold outside, so I can wear my knitwear. This is a sweater that I'm wearing that's made from Alpaca. I think this is like 20 plus years old. It is not one that I've knit. It's one that that we imported from Peru. But I do like the sweater because it's nice and warm. So I was thinking the prize for this week, I would offer a skein of Dos Tijeras. And this is a 50-50 blend of merino and alpaca. And you either have the red colorway or the multi-colorway. I think this multi-colorway is called Aniversario, and the red colorway is called Cereza. And I've used both of them quite a few times. The Aniversario is a very popular multicolored, and the Cereza is just really nice. It almost has like a black halo to it, and it is a fantastic yarn from Malabrigo.
Anniversary around so they can see it.
Can you see the other side of it?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. If you haven't used Dos Tijeras before, it is quite a treat. I made some slippers out of it that are just gorgeous.
You might mention the dye lots. They always get enough of that, right?
Yes, for any yarn, you want to get enough yarn for your project. I know there's probably a ton of us out there who have shorted ourselves a little bit of yarn and then tried to get a dye lot. Getting the same dye lot after a period of time is almost impossible because the vendors sell the dye lot so quickly. I mean, in a matter of days, they can be going from dye lot 1 to dye lot 3. So getting that dye lot 1 is going to be very difficult to go back. So always make sure you get enough yarn for the project. And then with Malabrigo yarns, because they're hand painted, alternating skeins like every other row. So using 2 skeins to knit with and knit back and forth with one color and back and forth with the other color will prevent you from having that huge pooling problem that you sometimes see on sweaters. And that's such a shame because the sweaters are so gorgeous and they're quite an investment. So having a big blob of color in the middle of your work that is different from what the background color would be is not always ideal.
So there's a question on the Dos Tiros. She said, does that felt well?
Oh, I'm sure you can felt it just fine. Yes, it's a little bit expensive for felting yarn. I think using Peruvian Highland wool or Cascade 220 or something that's a little more cost effective is good. But if you wanted a nice hand painted yarn, Malabrigo is one of the best cost wise. You get the best product for the best price, and which is why we carry it, because I always like to try to carry the yarns that are good quality and they don't break the bank. Because as much as I love yarn, I don't want to put myself in the poorhouse trying to buy yarn that's so expensive that you can't afford it, to enjoy it. Especially as us knitters go through a fair amount of yarn when we're knitting. And so those huge, $30 skeins, I don't know. I don't have that kind of budget that I could spend $30 a skein indefinitely for all my knitting projects. And I find that there's a lot of yarns out there that are maybe not exactly the same, but very close and, at half the price. So that's kind of nice. So anyways, I really enjoyed doing this shawl this week. Yeah. And I wanted to show you with yarn how I did my increases for these little hearts. Do you see the little hearts, how nice they are? They're so fantastic. Martina did such a good job of doing her the increases and decreases on here that the little hearts just look beautiful. I love them. So let me show you how I did it. I know on hers, the only thing is on mine, do you see how there's that little strand of yarn that stands out a little bit? That is probably because I didn't use the knit front and back. But actually, I kind of like that. It kind of adds detail to it. So I don't mind that at all. It's kind of cute. So let me show you how, with her pattern, I'll show you the dilemma first so you can understand why I wanted to find a solution to it. Because it was, it's just a challenge. So let me see if I can find that page. Aha. So this is my setup rows for the actual pattern, and I'm just using scrap yarn so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this one is a knit front and back 6. So you would have a total of 7 stitches. So we're first going to start out by casting on 2 stitches, and I'm just going to use the long tail cast on. So so I have 2 stitches, and then I'm going to go ahead and knit 1, and then I'll show you what the dilemma is. So on this next stitch, I have to do knit front and back until I have 7 stitches. So a total of 7 stitches. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And do you see how the last stitch is? I could barely even get and then the last one is, well, you see, I still have to put another stitch on there. And so it's super tight. But do you see how it's closed? So my heart right here would have been not have that strand there. But here's what I did. I went, okay, there must be an easier way to do it. You know how I am. I always got to try and find something different. So I'm going to cast on 2 stitches. So then instead of doing the knit front and back, I'm going to go ahead and knit 1. So I knit a stitch, And then I'm going to count 6 more stitches. So I'm going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On this last one, I'm going to do a knit front and back, just so that when I turn and purl, that's a purl stitch. If you put a yarn over on the end, it creates a whole nother set of problems that can be avoided by just doing a knit front and back. So you can see how I have this little strand of yarn here that is bigger, which creates this little loop right here. But I don't mind it. I think it's fine. It's totally fine. So on row number 2, it tells me to purl back. So all you have to do is when you're doing the purl back, don't forget to purl those yarn overs through the back loop. So this is a yarn over. Do you see how it's just laying right over the needle? That stitch is laying over the needle. So you just purl it through the back loop. And then you've turned a set of increases that is fairly difficult, that you might have to do a couple of times to actually get it right, into something that is doable. Let me show you another. So if you just remember that you are going to purl the yarn overs through the back loop to close up the hole, because you don't want on your leaf right here, you don't want a bunch of yarn overs right here. You want it to look like closed stitches. So purling those yarn overs through the back loop will do that. So, and then on row number 3, it says knit 1, increase 1 5 times. So we knit 1, then we knit 1, increase 1 5 times, and she does the knit 1 below. So you grab that strand of yarn from underneath and you knit it. So that's 1, and then you would knit 1, and then you grab the strand from down below and knit it. 2, 3, oops, 1 second here, 3, and we're going to knit 4, and you grab that strand, and then you knit 1 last time, grab the strand, that's the knit 1 below increase, and if you have done it right, you should have 3, 6, 9, 12 stitches on your needles. And so let's see what we have for row number, then it just has a couple rows of the knit purl. So this one's a purl, and then it has a knit row, and then it has a purl row. But I'll just do 1 purl row so you can kind of see what your leaf is looking like. And this is just a setup pattern for the pattern repeat that she does. But I really like how she does her hearts, because the hearts are nice and full around the center, and I really like that. So
several people said they like patterns from Martina.
Yeah, she's the one that did the hitchhiker pattern, and hitchhiker pattern has probably, it's one of the most famous patterns out that I know of. And it's a shawl pattern that is really super nice, and I like it. But there's the start of my leaf, and you could see how the leaf gets nice and full. And so doing these little leaves and doing it with the yarn overs the way I did it creates a really lovely, see, you can see how lovely the leaves are on them. And then they have yarn overs on the edges. This Rios that I used was perfect for the pattern. So when you guys are doing patterns and the pattern calls for a fingering weight yarn, don't be afraid to mix it up. Because you could just not do quite as many repeats like I'm doing on mine, and then you can have a project that is a quicker knit. So say you want to give something, to your family member or your daughter or something for Valentine's Day, and you don't have a lot of time to do it, but you want to get it done quick. This is really good pattern, and it's very well written. And if you do the yarn overs the way that I did them, you'll get through it much quicker than the knit front and back 6 times. I'm sitting here going, I couldn't get I'm like, oh, Lordy B. Yes, I need to figure out a different way to do these increases. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just not coordinated enough to do it. Or maybe I knit too tight. Or maybe I need to do a different style of knit. I don't know. Anyways, doing the yarn overs that way was totally fantastic. So let's look and see what we have for our winner for this week. Kathy Shanahan. Kathy, you won the Simplicity Spray by Haiku. All you have to do is get in touch with us and we can send this out in the mail to you. And it is a decent amount of yardage. So you should be, yes, it's called Girly. And this one is the merino acrylic blend. Let me show you the tag. It's 55% merino superwash, 28% acrylic, and 17% nylon. So it has a pretty good longevity to it, and it's a sturdy little yarn. It's super, super nice. And you can see how it has the long color changes. So that makes it convenient to do. That's why I did the baby surprise with these, the yarn, because it's perfect for that application. And there's 456 yards in it for a worsted weight yarn. That is really good yardage. So all you have to do, Kathy, is get in contact with customer service and we can get that out in the mail to you. And for everyone else, you help me vote on what you want the winner to get for next week. This is the Dos Tiras, and we have the Anniversario number 5, or we have the Cereza, and this is number 33. And whichever one you think that we should send out next week, all you have to do is let us know, and we can send it out in the mail for next week's prize. So this next week, I haven't decided for sure. I was thinking that I would finish up my shawl and then talk about decreases for this next Technique Tuesday. So I'll be doing that. And then another thing that I'm going to be doing is these stay-on cable booties. They're called James Cable Baby Booties. And I wanted to do some of these for, I have a couple babies in our family that are being born, and these are supposed to stay on their feet. And so I was going to make some of these. So I'll let you know how that goes too. So I hope that you guys have a great week, and I will see you next Tuesday.